So Claude Code is currently the talk of the town in the AI coding land right now. Everyone on AI Twitter, when it comes to vibe coding, when it comes to building apps and projects using AI, is talking about Claude Code. And I've used it once or twice. It's very impressive. It has an ability to actually plan out the different steps that are involved with rolling out an app that you might be building or a project that you're working on. And just for some intel on it, Cloud Code is Anthropic's coding platform that can be run within your computer's terminal or in the terminal of a development environment or AI copilot that you may be using, like a Cursor, for example. However, you soon realize after using it that it gets very expensive very, very early. And so I haven't, for that reason, really gone down the road of using it all that much because using the models that are offered within Cursor, for example, or other existing models on the market that get the job done are tens, if not hundreds of times cheaper than using Claude Code. Now, as we all know, some months back, we had DeepSeek really take the world by storm when they announced that the cost to run it, this Chinese made company, is 30 times cheaper than the cost to run ChatGPT. And what we're now seeing when it comes to the AI coding land is something similar, except for coding. So we've had the launch of Qwen3 Coder just a few days ago, where this product by Alibaba. Alibaba has Qwen, which is actually their large language model. They have different models of Qwen, and they just released the latest coding model, Qwen Coder. And Qwen Coder is not only significantly cheaper than using Claude Code, but it's also just as it's also at the quality level of the top coding models. So it's at the quality level of Claude 4 Sonnet, Claude 3.7. It surpasses Kimi K2, which is another coding based AI model that launched not that much before when 3. And it's crazy how fast all of this is moving because I had meant to go actually take a look at Kimi and didn't even have the time to do so before Qwen3 then went ahead and launched. And so what I'm looking to do in this video is go through the process of actually setting up the Qwen model within my IDE. Rather than using Claude Code, my goal will be to use the Qwen model. And so after doing some research, I've seen that the Qwen model, Qwen Coder, can be used through Alibaba Cloud. You can get access to the API for it. There's the commercial version that you can use through the website. There's also the open source version if you wanted to download that. And then you can use the API for the commercial version through Alibaba Cloud. Now, one thing to mention before we get into it, uh, I liked what David Andrej had to say. Hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. Where he talks about models like Kimi, DeepSeek, and Qwen will cost closed AI labs billions of dollars. And people aren't really talking about this. And partly why is probably because of how much less expensive it is to use these open source models, these Chinese models. So he put here, Claude 4 Opus is literally 100 times more expensive than Kimi 2. And I believe this may have even been before. Was this before Qwen? Okay, Qwen launched on the 22nd as well. But these Chinese coding models, Kimi and Qwen, which are both the top of the line right now, and at the level of the closed source models that we know, your Claudes, your Geminis, they're significantly cheaper to use, but are also very quality. And so that kind of puts the closed labs at a tight spot because how can you offer these coding platforms at the price that they are when these open source or Chinese models are available to use at a fraction of the price. And so just to talk a little bit more specifically about pricing. So if I pull up this is the Alibaba Cloud Studio, which will show how much it costs to use it. So the context window and input token count. So for 0 to 32K, it's $1 for the input price, and that's the actual prompt that you're sending off to the AI. And then the output price, the response that it actually gives you, is $5 per million tokens. And then for up to, let's say, a million token count, $6 for the input price, $60 for the output price. You can expect the output price to, or rather the output to be smaller than the input because it's the response that it's giving you. You get 1 million tokens free by signing up with Alibaba Cloud model here. And it's also worth mentioning that the context window for Claude Sonnet is 200,000 tokens. So the token count here, when you see 256 to 1 million tokens and the price here, because that looks very expensive, when I was first looking at it, this actually goes beyond what you can even do with Claude Sonnet. However, you should keep in mind that your AI copilots like Cursor, Windsurf, especially these more sort of robust platforms, I imagine have modified it such that you are able to work within a larger kind of context window. So the world of these open source models, of these Chinese models, leveraging their APIs, seeing how best to fit it within your workflows is something that isn't completely concrete, and you have to kind of find what's going to work best for you. And I believe I kind of have come up with a path that I like, and I'm going to try out within Cursor now. But I just wanted to bring to your attention around the cost versus the value you're getting out of these tools relative to all the different options that exist on the market. So if we go ahead and take a look at this GitHub repo, so this is the repo for Qwen Code, and you can actually download this as a project within your IDE. And I like the idea of like running it within a Cursor because then you can kind of switch back and forth between using the models offered by Cursor or with it through Cursor, integrated into Cursor versus those that are going through the terminal. And so if I copy that and go into Cursor, open project, I'm going to say new folder, we can call it Qwen. I'm just going to say Qwen, create, open. And then I'm going to say, help me clone this repo and set up Qwen code to run, colon. I'm going to paste in the repo. And then I'm also going to go to the Alibaba Cloud. If you go on to modelstudio.console.alibabacloud.com or just alibabacloud.com, you can go sign up for an account there. As I mentioned, you get 1 million tokens free to start. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to create an API key within here, default workspace, and then we can just put Qwen code. Okay, so now we have our API key here. I'm going to say here is the I'm going to say follow the instructions. Here follows the instructions, and here is the API key. You also need to have Node.js downloaded to your computer. You need Node.js if you're running Claude Coder or Claude Code, and for a couple of different functionality. For example, MCPs. A lot of MCPs require Node.js to be installed. I already had it on my computer, js.org. You can just click on Get Node.js and then download that to your computer. So it's installed these dependencies. We clone the repo. And we see all the files right here. So we've got it all set up now. The setup is complete. I have the Cursor agent to auto run mode, so like it literally will just keep going and going until the task is done. Sometimes that can work against you if you wanted to kind of stop and you want to check what is working or what is not working at that time, so you can work through it alongside the agent. But let's see what we have here. So setup complete. Qwen code is now fully functional. What we accomplished: repository cloned, dependencies installed, API key, endpoint, model, Qwen coder plus, make configuration permanent. Since environment variables are lost when you close the terminal, add those to your shell profile. The configuration is not permanent and will be available in all future terminal sessions. How to use it: basic usage, interactive mode, non-interactive mode. From any directory, describe, and then example commands to try, describe the main pieces of the system's architecture, refactor, generate comprehensive, analyze, alternative API configurations. If you're in mainland China, you can switch to these endpoints. Your setup is complete and ready to use. All right, so I'm going to say I am not in mainland China. How do I start this up? So imagine is going to be going to the terminal and typing in the command, but that's going to want to see what it has to say. Cool. So it just went ahead and started it up for me. And then I can now go ahead and type in these different commands. So it's testing it out and it's showing, the different things that I can do with it. So code understanding and editing, workflow automation, documentation and testing. I have Node.js installed. All right, current setup, ready to use examples. And you see, this is the thing, when you have it on, when you have Cursor Agent on auto run, it'll just like keep going and going. But this is cool. It's not ready to use since you're not mainly in China. The international configuration is set up. Open a new terminal, navigate to any project. You want to analyze, run Qwen, and start asking questions. And this is how you would start it up. CD, which will take you to the folder, type in the project, and then type in Qwen, and you can put help me understand this code base if you wanted. All right, so it looks like we already have it up here. This is how the interface is supposed to look. Looks like you can select different themes. This is interesting. Apply to user setting, workspace setting, preview. All right. So I'm gonna open up the terminal, and then we're already in the folder, it seems. So let me try something like, can you? What kind of tasks can you do? Oh, that didn't work. Try this. What kind of tasks can you do? All right. So it says I can help with a variety of agentic tasks, especially around software engineering. Here's a breakdown of what I can do. Explain how specific pieces of code work. All right, write tests, so on and so forth. I'm trying it here now. All right, so you can type directly from the terminal, but then you have, this is, I guess, this file in right here would be the equivalent to like the cursor agent. That's funny, they got a Rick roll line here, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. All right, now let's install the dependencies. Now it's saying, let's test our landing page by starting the development server. So it's taking quite a long time. It's taking way too long. All I was doing is running this thing. So, okay, so create the files within here and in the project. Okay, so I'm gonna cancel it. Try running page again. Because then at this point, I could actually just run it from Cursor, but I did want to get it open through Qwen. I think I'm just gonna run it through Cursor. Let's see. Can you get the landing page? Running, cancel it here. Where did the port go? There we go. All right, so pulled up the landing page and this is what it gave me. All right, so basically, I'm gonna stop this here. Basically, I ran it with Cursor and I created it with Qwen Coder, and then we have the Qwen Coder we had the Qwen Coder CLI that we used right here. And this is something that could also be run within your terminal. You could have the CLI within your terminal. And so now that begs a question around why, whether to use Cursor versus using Qwen Code CLI. If you look in Cursor at the settings, you can see all the different models here that exist. So for example, Cursor added, I believe they added, I want to say they added Kimi. Yep, so Cursor added Kimi K2 Instruct, and I'm sure they'll add Qwen. Ultimately, you've got DeepSeek in here as well. And so what are the advantages of using the Qwen CLI? So I would say an advantage is, and this may not be the case currently, and I have to look kind of into its ability to do tool calling, its ability to the agentic sort of features. So it would be similar to the advantages of using Claude Coder, for example, to where Claude Coder can create folders on the computer, create files, but then also call uh, different MCPs, right, MCP servers, and you can make changes directly from your terminal. But then at the same time, you can do that through Cursor as well. And so with Claude Coder, they have the Taskmaster feature where it'll plan out the project you're working on. I didn't see that with Qwen, so that would kind of be a minus one for why would you use Qwen versus another model. And so what I would probably do is when Cursor adds Qwen, then I would just use something like a Qwen within Cursor if I'm concerned about price. But it's very interesting, the space overall, because you have all these different options, and they also vary in what you're paying and how much you're paying. And it's also, you have to factor in the time, the time that it takes to set up these different tools and models, and how you're running it, and what you're using for each part of your project. And so, to be honest, as of now, I probably wouldn't make any sort of changes to my workflow. I'd probably just continue using Sonnet for within Cursor, um, and then would be looking for Qwen to get added to Cursor, or maybe I would use Qwen within my terminal if price is something that I'm sensitive to. The other day when I was using Sonnet 4, I ran out of the limits within Cursor to where I would then have to start paying based off of my usage. And so if I'm running into those kinds of challenges with Cursor, then that would be reason to use something like a Qwen because of the pricing. But at the same time, within Cursor, you also have the option of using auto mode, where it'll just choose the model for you that is based off of what the current demand is, and you'd be able to kind of keep prices at bay that way. And so I did this video primarily just to kind of show, okay, what it was like to set up a Qwen, to talk a little bit about Qwen, to talk a little bit about the pricing between these different models. Again, if you want to set up Qwen, you can get the API key from Alibaba Cloud. You can also do it through Open Router. You have a couple of different options, but we have so many ways to skin the cat now that it's honestly pretty incredible. But it's also important to think about, okay, what do you need in order to just execute and get and make progress and get the tasks done that you're working on. So that's it, folks. Let me know what you think. I look forward to seeing the space continue to evolve, and also the response that these closed source companies have to the recent launches. Again, I think if and when Cursor adds Qwen to its as one of its models, then more people probably start using Qwen. And I'm also looking forward to seeing the agentic features start to become more user friendly, easier to set up, and where you can really have these agents go off and just do tasks for you and not really having to think twice about it.